Today's episode is all about growth, both in time and revenue. I recently caught up with Dylan to explore how he can streamline his workload through outsourcing, attract more of his ideal client, increase his fee, and better leverage his database he already has. If you're looking to free up more time in your business, work with better clients, or boost your income, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Dylan, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been a long time coming. So, for those who don't know you and don't know your estate agency business, give us the history about how we've kind of got to where we are today.
Yes, sure. Not from an estate agency background, but always like property. So I've done lots of different things in property, mainly development, lettings, even short lets up to the point of COVID. But I actually joined Keller Williams as an agent in March 2020, and you know what happens to them. So worst time to join, but also the best time to join because I'm a big learner, and so I just soaked in a lot of things in the months after that. Been going for 5 years now.
Good, excellent. So, talk me through where your business is at today. So, sort of talk me through the average month for yourself and your business where you're at.
Sure. Well, firstly, to say every year, generally, the business has been growing, which is a very positive thing. What I do is I do sales and lettings. So in an average year, I have this very high goal and the big, hairy, audacious goal of trying to do 100 transactions a year through lettings and sales. I roughly do half of that in the end in the last year or two, where it's been 45, that kind of thing, split between, say, 30 to 35 lets and 10 to 15 sales a year.
Okay. Cool. Okay. And what's the 100 transactions? What's that? Is that just a nice round figure you picked on, or is there any particular weighting behind that?
Well, I think I just wanted to be really ambitious. I don't know where I read somewhere, this whole thing about shooting for the stars and hit the trees, that kind of thing. And just to really put a goal out there that scares you, that stretches you, and also obviously it being a round figure, it's easy. So I do quote that all a lot. People do ask, "Oh, how are you getting on with your 100 a year transaction goal?"
Cool.
Well, yes.
Excellent. I like that a lot. Excellent. Very good. Fantastic. So, talk me through then. What does the average month look like for yourself today? So, how many market appraisals are you getting per month at the moment?
About 15, and that is made up generally of about 8 sales and 6 lets, if I was gonna put it that way. It isn't quite as, steady as that. You have months where it just goes, over 20, and then others that'll be like 10, 12. But I feel I'm fairly steady, a lot steadier than I was, but not at a level where I know that on my afternoons every week, I've got market appraisals booked in, So, there'll be weeks where I'm inundated and some weeks when I'm quiet.
Okay, great. And talk me through sort of your sort of 15 market appraisals. What's your conversion rate like? Are you signing up most of those? What's the kind of conversion you get with one?
I would say, yeah. I mean, it's very, very high actually. Mostly because lettings ones are generally from previous let. So they're portfolio landlords a lot of times that I work with regularly. And then the sales ones generally tend to be referrals. So a lot of my stuff is from my database and referrals where, it's your appraisal to lose basically.
Cool. Excellent. And so talk me through the selling side of things. So if we're pretty good at getting places on the market, so what do you think you've got? Like a 60% conversion rate to get on market, you think? Or where do you think you sit?
Yes, I mean to yeah, about 60, but possibly even higher actually, depending on the year. But yeah, around the 60 to 70%. And then where my business kind of has a big kind of space to grow is in terms of then selling them. Um, a mixture of reasons which we can go into obviously, but I think I feel like at the moment currently I've got around 30 properties on the market and only 10 under offer. So, that's kind of the kind of thing that I'm trying to narrow, really, that gap between the under offer and sale.
I'd imagine you look at that potential pipeline at 30 properties on the market and you went, if I just sold those, would be millionaires by Christmas. Is that okay? Fine. Good. Okay. And where do you want to be? Also, you mentioned the 100 transactions, but where would you want to be on sort of a monthly basis to kind of get to that point? So, how many more market appraisals do you need to find per month, do you think, to get to where you want to be?
I think, yeah, that's probably not the biggest problem, the market price, but still definitely to get the 20 a month. So where I can just be because I said, like I said, that my conversion rate to actual listings is high enough. I think it's more like to push up the market appraisals, but then obviously there to push on the and conversions to sales.
Okay, fine. And talk me through money-wise at the moment. So give me a rough idea. Do you charge an upfront fee for listing on the market with yourself? Do you charge a percentage at the end? And is that going up, or where's that sort of talking to?
Yeah, it's been going up. So I do 1.5% plus VAT for a sale. Used to be, even as low as 1 and then 1.25, but consistently now in the last year or two, we charge 1.5 plus VAT. Sometimes more depending on the situation and how much work would have to go in. We don't charge upfront fees most of the time. There are some one-offs that we do, but that's something I would look to do as well, or even just to not charge upfront, but just to have a withdrawal fee. So that's something I'd look to do.
Yeah, sure. And roughly speaking, how much does it cost you to put a property on the market? So do you have things like professional photographs, for example? How much kind of is your outlay on that side?
Yeah, as a rough amount overall, about £250, not not including. I have a VA who helps me to list, and so not including the time, but the actual outlay in terms of paying a photographer. Generally, I'm doing houses more than flats, which means that I go for drone footage as well. So that's a fairly reasonable kind of amount. Yeah, 250.
Okay. So, good. So let's look at kind of where we're doing well. So, your market appraisal numbers are okay in the grand scheme of things, and that's all right. I mean, obviously there's always room for improvement, but I think you're doing a pretty solid job. A little bit of a flashy light that went on my head is when you mentioned you've got good months and bad months. So I'm just going to zoom into that quickly. What's your consistency of marketing like?
My consistency of marketing, I think, is actually okay, apart from the calls to my database. So I'd say that a lot of my other things where I get leads, social media, newsletters, that kind of thing is consistent. For the last 3, 4 years, I've done my newsletters on time twice a month. Social media, I'm quite rigid on, setting that up, scheduling it, that kind of thing. But I'd say that my calls, which because of probably my main, without trying to make excuse, one of my things that distracts me is managing properties as well, which I've got help on as well. But it just means that I don't have this solid bunker time every single day where I do calls. Although I would say that I keep in touch with a lot of people throughout the day. But is it from my top 50 or my top 300? Then I can't say that I do that. So that's where I feel like my lead gen time isn't protected as much as I would like it to be.
And how many properties, roughly speaking, do you manage yourself and look after?
40, around 40. Yeah.
Okay. So you're a busy guy. Yeah. So because you've got, well, 30 properties on market, 10 properties under offer, and you've got 40 properties under fully management as well. Do you outsource things like your sales progression at all or anything like that?
Yeah. So my sales progression for the last year and a half has been outsourced, and it helps a lot. And I work closely with my sales progression director. So I am still doing a bit of sales progression, but mainly outsourced.
Okay. I would really easy win for yourself is I would change it from I mainly outsource my sales progression to I entirely outsource my sales progression. The one caveat of that is I had a video call with a client on Friday who agreed a double deal and it was worth just short of £60,000. And I was like, you can do the sales progression on that one yourself. Outside of that, for sort of like a normal sort of deal, I would be just getting rid of it because I would find it's crazy to have things that are outsourced and having a team in place and then not committing to it fully. It's kind of like saying I've got an admin person, but I kind of do some admin as well. We either got an admin person, we haven't. So if you've got a person who can do your sales progression for you, great. Well, let's cut the cord and go right. You are my sales progression person. Everything comes through, good, bad, hard, easy, first time buyer, cash buyer, but it all just goes to you. Thank you very much. Get that off your desk in a big, big way. Talk me through the sort of area you cover. So how wide apart are your properties you take on the market?
Gosh, I'm embarrassed to say, but yeah, very, very wide. But even having said that, it's narrower than it used to be. So basically, I kind of say northwest and West London, which obviously is a lot of chimney pots. But as you might see, that I've got other properties on the market, central London, home counties, that kind of thing. Especially when I partner up with other people. I've been open to do that. But at the same time, my bread and butter, I'm trying to do West London, in particular, Hillingdon, and that good area.
Okay, fine. So we've got I mean, agree with, I don't think it's too bad for me to say this. I think you've got an area issue, should we say. You've kind of fallen into the classic more houses equal more stock sort of trap. But obviously now you're getting spread very thin. Okay, so of the sort of core area you want to cover, what percentage of your current stock is actually within that patch? So how, with regards to the stuff you kind of is outside your area that you're kind of not overly fussed about, but the areas you actually want to go into and kind of double down on, what percentage of your stock is actually in that area currently?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually as low as 10%, that kind of thing. So it's very, very low. And I'm very conscious of that as well. I say, when I try to show one property, I've got nothing else to show them if they don't like that property, because also like just one isolated property in a town at the moment.
Okay. And if I was in that core area you want to focus on, what have I seen from Darwin recently? What have I received, or what's come to my focus brush?
Sure. So I have a farming area, like an immediate farming area, which is just the roads around me. And I do send out infographic leaflets. I send out uh, just regular market updates and even things like, get ready to sell in summer and that kind of things, and even local events. So I do that, and that's quite regular. Well, so no, I should say quite regular. It is regular, and once a month, and I do get some traction from it. But I'd say that I haven't had an awful lot of actual listings from it.
Okay. I'm going to do a very sweeping statement here. I think maybe potentially the issue we've had historically is that we've been a bit too quick to say yes. And it's an easy trap to fall into. And people say, "Job, darling, do you want this listing?" You're like, "Oh, yeah, why not? Why not?" Sort of thing. It's fallen in my lap. Thank you very much. But I think over time, that's obviously dragged over such a wide area that now you're kind of going, where do I belong? Am I this part of London? Am I that part of London? Where actually is the hub of my business? And you correctly said, what you're getting a lot of is recommendations and referrals, which is brilliant. That shows you're doing a really good job, but obviously it's very hard to herd that into the right area because you can't go, I just want recommendations in this really small patch, because some people might have a second property in Slough or North London or South London or wherever it may be. And you think to yourself, okay, well, how am I going to turn away that business? So I think before, this is where you need to kind of start valuing your time and your services more than anything else. So I think historically, and it's very easy done, especially when you start a new business, congratulations, you've got a pulse and a doorbell. You're my ideal client. Where I think actually, as the business grows, you kind of go, actually, if you're not in this core patch, this core area, if you're not going to pay me this much, or I think you're a bit of a pain in the backside, then probably it's potentially a no from myself. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to say no to your, favorite investors or favorite clients. You'll probably still say yes to them, but therefore you come back to your core area very quickly. It's a bit like steering a ship. If you're putting lots of marketing in a certain direction, you're going to push your ship in that direction. Whereas if you're just sprinkling it all over the show, your ship's just going to, run around like you've got no captain on board. So you're very much going to go in the direction we want to go for there. Okay, so we've got some really good stuff going for you here. I'd imagine you're really, really busy. I'm going to put a line in the sand here and say you must be here, there, everywhere, and your phone must not stop ringing pretty much 24/7.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wild guess. Excellent. Okay, so we need to start saying no, so we can start saying yes. It's probably the crunch line here. Your fee at the moment, you mentioned you've had it at 1.5% for the last year or two. You're still at 65% conversion rate. I would be willing to bet you could edge that up probably quite quickly to maybe 1.6, 1.75, depending on how brave you're feeling, quite quickly with a minimal pushback off the back of it. So I think you've got a bit of an easy goal, and that's probably more of a nicest possible way, more of a you problem than it is your. I think in your head you're thinking, "Oh, 1.5 is a fair fee, and I've charged it for a few years, and it's okay, and it's never done me wrong," sort of thing. I think you could charge more than that. I think that it's costing you £250 to put a property on the market, of which you're probably bringing on what, 4 properties a month on sales and 3 or 4 properties on letting, sort of thing. Costing you a grand or two, let's call it, every single month just to put properties on the market. On the fingers crossed they actually sell. So, generally speaking, the estate agency business model is a terrible business model. So your goal is to distance yourself as far as possible away from the estate agency business model because it's terrible. You know,
Yeah.
you spend all this money to get a property on the market on the hopes and dreams that someone might buy it, and actually the vendor stays with it until completion over the next 7 months or so. Terrible business model. We want to get cash into your business early on as we possibly can do, and then hope for a bigger payday down the line. The the soft way of doing this is to say we're going to charge, I mean, for the sort of house prices you deal with, 500 quid up front, get a ballpark up to that for it. That obviously covers your withdrawal charge later on down the line. That kind of buys you a little bit of insurance down there as well. And you could look at doing that first of all, and then once that settles in over a month or two, then look to put your fees up as kind of the bigger figure. The softcore way of doing it would make that refundable on completion. The hardcore version is just to say it's 500 quid and that goes on your fee. Yeah. What's your average house price you're selling at the moment, roughly?
550. Yeah.
Okay. So £500,000 worth of property is up forward to me and say, can you sell my £500,000 of property, but we need 500 quid?
Set.
Like, yeah, literally a tiny percentage of the actual value of the property to get the most value out of it. I'd like it's a no brainer. And anybody who said, oh, I don't really, I would see that as a big red flag to penny pincher, pain in the arse, probably not my sort of client.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So the 0.1%, not once.
Yeah, but we know, don't worry, we know you had. So I would look at that and I would literally explain it to clients in this way. So look, that is there as a barrier of entry for you before you start working with ourselves. If you want to sell your property in a good time scale for as much money as possible, great. It's 500 quid and we'll get things going. If you're not serious about getting the most money for your property, then that's fine. No problem at all. I'm not the agent for you. Go to Connells, they'll quite happily take your property on the market free of charge up front and then fingers crossed it sells. So I would actively say to people, this is designed to put friction in my buying process through myself so that you're serious about selling your property and so you're not wasting my time and your time.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of cojones, is that a technical term? Got to do that because obviously, your first valuation ever, you're probably not going to say that, but after you've been in the business.
Yeah. I mean, I've actually only charged once up front and I asked the question and they said straight away they'll pay it. So it doesn't make sense to me not asked after that.
Yeah. The signs were there. Like they were pointing in the right direction on that side. So I'd probably look at doing this in a 3-step program. I'd probably do the upfront payment to be refunded of 500 quid to start off with. Second step is to make it non-refundable. And then third step is to put the main fee up as well.
Yeah.
So, and once you've got that, I know we're trying to get towards 100 transactions in a year, but actually if we can get the money for 100 transactions without doing 100 transactions, then you're like, well, who's laughing now? I've done 70 transactions and I've got the money for 100 transactions. That's a big win across the board. So that would be kind of the big part here, but you can't do that and still say yes to everybody. And I think my goal for you is for your instruction rate to go down slightly. I think you more like 55% in that sort of ballpark. I'll be absolutely happy with that. But if you're paying an extra 20, 30% on your fee, I mean, well done you, mate. That's kind of where you're with it. Okay. So are you managing your 40 landlords yourself?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So I would always see that a full-time property manager can look after about 100, just over 100 properties in total. So the fact you've got kind of a part-time job, let's call it, or a half-time of 40 properties, and then doing all those sales properties on top of it is quite a lot.
Yeah. Sorry, I should say that I have got somebody helping with some of the admin of the property management, but either way, I just want to,
I would,
or more. Yeah.
I would be starting to think over the next 2, 3, 6 months, whatever it may be, I'll be starting, since this gets around 50, I can get myself a part-time person for maybe £1,000 a month. And someone who wants to drop their kids off at school at 9 o'clock and pick them up again at 3 o'clock in the afternoon can just do it between those times. Any dramas come through, they jump on it. And similar to the sales progression side, they just manage your properties and just goes over there and they've got their own sort of almost business within your business. Then they go, Darling throws properties at me. Once they've moved in, I'm like, great, I deal with it. I do the inspections, I do the move-in reports, checkout reports, etc. That is all done under my remit. So it's almost like a department in itself. Catch up with once a month or every couple of weeks and say, right, how's the department doing? And they'll be like, I've had 2 complaints, I've had loads of complaints, I've had this issue, I've had that issue. You can then take a step back and see actually what's working well with it. Because you just need to free up your plate. So we're starting saying no to things. So
Yeah.
can you manage my property personally? No. Can you do my sales progression on my property? Not myself. But I guess I've literally got a professional whose job is purely to do that. This is all they do day in, day out. They're going to be better than me to do it. And that's what I do with it.
No, I've definitely seen the improvement when I've handled out, passed on my sales progression as well, where I've seen just the headspace. It's not even just the time, the headspace to think, but it's not my responsibility.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a lot of it's what it's about. So let's look at the big sort of question mark in your business is obviously your sales rate. at the
Mm.
moment. So talk me through what the process is. So you'd value my property and I'd say, great, love what you're saying and T's and C's and whatever it may be. Talk me through the vendor care process from there. How often, so let's say I've got no viewings whatsoever. So a worst case scenario, how often am I hearing from yourself?
So I would say every 2 weeks. I know it can do more, but every 2 weeks, in terms of just, especially at the start, it might be every week. Then there's things might slow up in terms of viewings, and you can get more embarrassed to even ring the vendor to say, "Oh, we've only had one in the last 2 weeks," or even nothing at all. But I do have a time in the diary to ring the vendors, and I think what I do a bit better now is to actually be quite blunt with them. So this line I think about, not going to just hurt you with a lie. Sorry, I'd rather hurt you with the truth than comfort you with a lie, that kind of thing. I am a bit more about that now, just saying it's not working for both. But I have either myself or you to just put it on and just keep it on. And so Tanya, who's my mentor within Keller Williams Oxygen, teaches me a lot about that as well, just to have the difficult conversations. I guess I don't. I stay away from difficult conversations sometimes, like a lot of people do.
Yep.
But then from there as well, if we do a price reduction, I'm always thinking about what else we can do other than the price reduction in terms of what new ideas is there that we haven't tried yet, new ways to market the property. If we haven't done an open day, is it worth doing an open day? Can I partner up with another agent? All of that kind of stuff. So I am also trying to be proactive as much as I can.
So it's good. So a couple of things that are really good. Personally speaking, I would always look at it as kind of having no plan B. So for example, things like open day, for example, if it came to the market and we want to go an open day, that would probably work very well. I think once it's been on the market for a little bit of time, got a bit stale, and unless it's a major price reduction where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they actually dropped that price down to that level, it's probably not going to work out on open day because you're probably not going to generate enough interest. It's just going to be like three people looking around the property. Just call it viewings and go home sort of thing. And so I think that I would always go kind of no plan B. So you'd go, right, what's the most stuff we can throw at this from day one? Because we know the first week is the most likely time it's going to sell. So, maximum attack from day one. Do we do an open day? Do we do social media marketing? Let's get it looking really good on the portals. Let's speak to my database. Let's match everyone out. All these sort of things to be right. Let's get it going as much as we possibly can do from day one. Because almost by having a plan B in place, you almost kind of make that a reality that you don't lose. You're like, oh, well, I'll add a premium listing now if I like it for a month. It's like, well, if you did that to start off with, it might have actually sold the first. So I wouldn't sandbag on that side of things. With regard to getting other agents on board, I think that's fine after you've done a 3-4 week period. I wouldn't necessarily throw away half of your commission on day one, but if it hasn't sold after a month or so, you can maybe look at that route. So that's the only thing I'd put a caveat on that. And so I'd look at it that way. And so you kind of alluded to something there. So you mentioned obviously they have conversations every other week or so. If they're getting viewings, they'll hear from you, and if they're not getting viewings, then they're probably going to hear from you slightly less. So the guys who are getting viewings, they know you're working hard. They know you're doing viewings because you're booking in times, you're doing feedback and that sort of stuff. The people who aren't hearing from you, they're getting nothing. And they're getting like double kicked in the nuts. They're getting no viewings whatsoever, and they're not hearing back from you.
Yeah.
And then the next time you phone them, it's like, "Oh, hi, it's Darland." And they're like, "Who?" And you're like, "Yeah, Darland, you're a estate agent. By the way, we drop your price down." And they're like, "Oh, look who come to town," sort of thing. Look who sold.
Yeah.
Where actually it's the opposite direction. So when the viewings go down and the interest dies down, your communication should go up, which I know from personal experience is a painful thing because you're like, oh, I really don't want to talk to this person. I've not had a viewing for 2 weeks and I've got to phone them again, sort of thing. But the ones that you ignore for a week or two or three, they're the ones that are going to leave you because they're just like, he's forgotten about us. He doesn't care about us, sort of thing. I had a house on the market, I don't know, 5 years ago or so. And for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, they were really good. Every Tuesday or Wednesday, they gave me a call. And then after that, it just died off. And I was like, oh, I've been forgotten. Like, I'm just, I'm not on the top of their list anymore. So therefore, I've just been forgotten. And as if by magic, didn't sell. So
So you can say that those that aren't expecting communication aren't really that motivated as well, because there are some where they'll be like, oh, just let me know if you got off that. Right. In that case, if they're not really wanting to hear from me, then this probably shows how motivated they are.
absolutely. Because if I was motivated to sell my property and I was like, "Look, I found a place I want to go for. I've got, the future Mrs. Webb, chatting to me saying, we sold our house yet. Can we get that house?" I'll be like, mate, get my house sold. Like, I'll be banging your door down to get my property sold. So you're absolutely right. And so I would look at it, at putting a line in the sand that says that every single person who's on the market with ourselves gets a phone call every week. And sometimes if they've got viewings, it might be, you probably just get away with the voice note saying, "Hey, hope you're okay. We've got 3 viewings for Saturday. I'll let you know how they go." But that might be it. But anybody who's not had anything for a week, that should definitely be a phone call. How long would you leave it before you would change your price on a property?
So I've got better, but I'd probably say that it's be 4 weeks actually.
Yeah.
I know some people say less, but I think it's 4 weeks before I really review. I do try to in the initial vow, especially when they're kind of bullish about what they'll get for it. I said, okay, I'm happy to go in at this price as long as it is fairly reasonable. I don't want it to be pie in the sky and isn't wasting everyone's time. But I will say that if we're not able to achieve that kind of price, then we will have to review the price in 3, 4 weeks' time.
Okay. How about if you pre-baked in a price reduction and you said to them, right, we're coming on the market today and we're coming on the market
Mhm.
for £550,000. And if we've not sold by the 1st of August, I'm going to change the price down by to 500 or whatever it may be, the next step down. That's what I'm changing to on the so and so date.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's literally a message from you saying, "Hey, hope you're okay. As per our agreement, I'm literally changing the price down today." And obviously, you're not going to do that if you've got like offers and 7 viewings booked in for the weekend, obviously. But if you like, it's been tumbleweed for the last couple of weeks or so, you've got it pre-baked in. It's more of a opt out rather than opt in situation.
That's really good.
This is
Yeah.
what we're agreeing from day one. This is plan A, this is plan B, and this is what I'm going to do off the back of it. So it's not like this is just plan A, and we might think of a plan B down the line. We're saying this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to action, and this is the timescale we're going to action it in. You're on board or you're not. And if you're not, then you're probably not the agent for us. Well, thank you very much. But if we, preset it in our diary that say on this date we are changing the price. It's really, hey, this is what we're doing. I know we agree this is going to happen. Let's get it changed. Now, what I would probably be very aware of, and the reason why it's a good idea to bring price reductions forward a little bit from when you're doing it at the moment, is I'm sure you have conversations with homeowners. They're like, oh, just leave it one more week, or let's leave it to after that viewing, or we're away this weekend, so we'll do it when we get back, sort of thing. There's always, my grandmother's washing her hair or whatever. So there's always something in the way. So therefore, I would bring it forward to week 3. And the sort of the conversation I'll be having with someone who didn't have any viewings whatsoever. Week 1 is great. It's on the market. It's on the portals. I've matched it out. I've been speaking to people. I've been saying how hard you're working. Week number 2, I've been chasing people. I've been doing this. I've checked online. I've sent the details out. I'm waiting to hear back from some people. I've been doing sort of thing. And then, the little comment at the end of it, I would have expected a bit more back, but not the end of the world. We're still pushing hard sort of thing. Week 3 is almost like I've got some good news, I've got some bad news. Good news is we're getting 2,000 views a week. I'm putting loads of work behind it. People are taking the details. It's one of our top properties on Rightmove. Bad news is I would have expected 5 viewings off the back of that. So there's something getting in the way of people viewing it online and saying, oh, it looks like a really nice house, and then picking up the phone. And it's one of two things. Either it's the way I presented it, and I think I've done a really good job with the presentation side of things, or it's the pricing side. And I think it's probably more in that direction. So question for you, if someone walks to the front door with a bag full of money, what would you take for your place? Would you take 475? And they're like, Jesus, darling, I wouldn't take 475, mate. All right, what would you take? I'll probably take 500. Okay, great. Well, let's go offers in excess of 500 then. What you're trying to find out, the big factor behind someone changing their price or not changing their price is actually will they even accept below? If I want at 550 and I go, worst case scenario, done, I'll take 550. I'm like, well, here we are, 550 land. That's not going to change. Whereas if I come forward and say, actually, I could take 525 or 500, you think, okay, we've got some movement there. So really what you want from that conversation is worst case scenario, what actually would you accept for your property? And then base it from there. If they say they can only take 3 grand less, you're like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
So I think it's just being a little bit harsher with those conversations. And probably what I would do after this video call is go through your stock and rank it either red, amber, or green. Red being no chance of selling. Conversations such as it will sell when it sells. We don't need to sell, Darland. We're not in a hurry. These sort of conversations. Green properties come on the market recently. Viewings booked in. Away we go. So chopped up. And then amber is where you need to spend your life these days. Amber is going to be probably of your stock 20 of them, I would have thought, where, they're motivated, they want to sell, and if you've got a good price reduction on it, it would be in the right area to go forward with. And they're the ones you really want to spend some time with, even go back to visit them, for example, and say, look, actually, can we come around and come and see you? Because they're the ones that actually, if I got the price to the correct level, they're motivated, they found a property, they will get things going, they can get the right price first of all.
Yeah.
because you're probably sat there with, I mean, looking at your things like your average fee, you're probably sat there with what, 100 grand sat there in dental work. Like, it's a decent amount of money. If we can get 10 reductions on those properties and get a good level, I mean, what, five of them might sell? Which for you is probably, 30 grand. Like, not bad. It's not bad use of, a few hours of your time. That's always lowest hanging fruit in any estate agency businesses is getting the properties presented and priced correctly you've got on the market currently. Because you've done the hard work, you've got them on the market, that you've done the lead generation, the valuation, the take on, you've done all that bit. Now we can get them across the line. So I think the big things here are consistency of marketing going out in your core area. So I would be dragging your entire marketing budget and go, this is my core plan. This is where I want to be. I'm putting a lot of work into that because at the moment you're getting a lot of business from recommendations and referrals, which is great, but you've got a massive flat tire on cold leads into your business.
Yeah.
So we need to double down on that core area as much as we possibly can do. We need to up our fee in that sort of 3-step process as well. We also need to do our sort of red, amber, green on our stock that we've got for sale currently to kind of see what that's up to. Talk me through one final thing that you mentioned it earlier, and I thought really worth talking about. You mentioned that most of your landlords that come through are portfolio landlords. That they probably, how often do you hear from them, and how often do you talk with them? So if I was a portfolio landlord, and I said, "Here's a couple of rentals, darling, rent them out for me, mate." How often would I hear from you?
I think outside of when we're talking about a specific property, I'd probably say every say 6 to 8 weeks, that kind of thing. It could be obviously be more. And I think sometimes it can be quite intense where they've got two or three in one go, and then we're talking quite a lot. But yeah, there could be periods where it's a couple of months.
Okay. So the worst, I mean, I'm sure you're a landlord yourself. The worst feeling as a landlord is when your phone rings from your lettings agent and you think, "Oh, how much is this going to cost me?" That's, the feeling straight away, like something's gone wrong, the rent's not been paid, the boiler's fallen off the wall, someone set himself on fire, something's gone wrong sort of thing. So what I'd have in place, and this can either be done by yourself or by your property manager when they start, is at least every year, maybe every 6 months or so, just to phone through your database and say, "Hey, Hope okay, just touching base. Thought I'd let you know what's happening with your property at the moment. They paid rent on the first of the month every month. That's looking really good. We've got the inspection booked in for 2 weeks' time, and that's all looking really positive. By the way, while I've got you on the phone, what's your purchase plans for the future? Are you planning to buy more in your portfolio and expand it? You're going to keep it the same, or you're going to sell some properties in your portfolio?" And if they go, well, I'm not quite sure. Landlord market's a bit crappy at the moment. I might think about selling them." Okay, cool. Well, do you want Darling to come around and see that property? We've got keys for it already. Great. We'll pass it through. Or, actually, I'm looking to buy more properties. Great. Well, that's a big marketing message from ourselves. Social media content by yourself. I've got a landlord who's looking for some more properties, or you might speak to another landlord who's looking to sell their property. There's lots of things we can do there just by having that regular communication. Say, what's your plans going forward? Are you looking to kind of buy more, sell it, or stay where you are at the moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bet that if you've got that many kind of portfolio landlords, there's always gonna be something going on. There's always gonna be something, buying something, renting it out. There's always gonna be some sort of plate spinning at some point. Put yourself in front of it.
No, I think, yeah, definitely. And then the other thing is also to add value, to be able to offer portfolios to them. I was on your listening to the other podcast that you did with Tommy.
A great plug there. Very well done. Available on all major platforms. Yeah, absolutely right. And if you listen to that one, the big value for your rental business is the portfolio. So if you can build that up, and I'm sure sort of the line in the sand you'd love to get to is like 100 properties under fully management, would be a great place to be. And that's basically going to be your retirement going forward or your cash value or whatever it may be. But that's a good line. But I would think as soon as you get to kind of 50, 60, that needs to be off your shoulders. And
Yeah, well, I was thinking just to offer those to portfolio landlords that we know about from other people that are selling up.
100%. And what might be a good idea to take this even longer? I know we said it to be half an hour long, and I'm dragging it out now because I've got one more good thing to talk about. Is that you could organise almost like a landlord VIP club. And effectively, to be in the landlord VIP club would be you get first refusal of any properties that come on the market that we think are great landlord opportunities. So if it's an in situ, for example, or it's a slightly below market value, or it needs a bit of work, whatever, you get first opportunity to do that. That's step number one of being in the club. Step number two in the club is that once a year you get a free rental review about where we think your rent should be in your property today. So, I mean, obviously that's fine for the guys you're with at the moment, and all the ones that there's 40 people you look after, they will get that anyway. But also anybody who isn't in your sphere at the moment comes forward to you and goes, "Oh, darling, mate, you let us know if any properties come on the market you think are any good buy to let." Yeah, great, no problem at all. Also, as part of our service being in our VIP club, we also do a free rental review on your properties. Great. Send me the addresses, what properties you've got. Let us know what rent you're getting for them. I'll let you know whether you can put it up at all.
Yeah.
And how long before they go, hang on, like I've literally spoken to you for 10 minutes and you're now making me an extra like £300 per month or £1,000 per month. My lettings agent's been there for the last 5 years and they've not done any of this. It'll be a pretty easy choice for them to switch over to yourself after that. And you can advertise that online. It's a good lead magnet. It's a good, join the VIP club or the landlord club, whatever you want to call it. Come into our sphere and it's all people who are looking for buy-to-let properties. And you can also shuffle the plates around. If someone says I want to sell a property, great. Well, I've got someone over here who wants to buy a property. Thank you very much. Take my commission for just passing those two people over. Really nice and easy. So I would look at that as a future option as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Good. Darling, thank you so much for being on today.
No problem.
Really good, mate. So thank you so much. We'll have to have you back in the future, see how it's all kicking in.
Yeah, definitely. I've been writing notes and I'm looking forward to implementing all this. Also, thanks for your advice.
Pleasure. Thanks so much. Really nice to be on. Thanks.